pick the data going into the election, all these credible data, Afrobarometer, CDD, Global Info Analytics, all that. They also mentioned the economy, that the feedback the Ghanaian people gave them going into the election was the economy. When Osei-Tutu Eugene came, and the MPP's Ashanti regional version of their report have come out, they've also mentioned what? The economy. Yeah. So it's Mohammed's mention of the economy is not a novelty. That also tells you that, David, no matter what you do, at the end of the day, if the Ghanaian people feel that their lives have not been bettered, their living conditions have not been improved upon, that will be a reason they will give you for voting against you. Yeah.
So basically that is it. But, when it comes to certain key aspects of what he said, where he says, for example, that we owe, our debt is around 721 billion.
Yeah.
ECG owes about 68 billion in there. You ask yourself, if we owe IPPs this to this tune, and yet businesses want the lights on, you want your lights on when you go home to do your research. I also want to listen to the news bulletins and put together my preparation for the show and all that.
Yeah.
If we owe so much, how do we keep the lights on? And so he's not talking about privatization anymore. Yes, I think the key word he mentioned was partnership of a sort.
Dave, you see, when you look at the energy sector, let me just give you some numbers I'm picking. I was looking at the number, that's why I was a bit quiet, forgive me. Now, when you look at the number, when the MPP came in 2017, the energy sector, the debt at the energy sector was around 10 billion cedis. The ESLA, which is supposed to be the collection we do to pay the debt, has accumulated about 45 billion in the last 8 years. Per what Mahama says, the energy sector now, the debt is what? Around 70 billion.
68, yeah.
68 billion, let's give it that. You came to meet what? 10. You collect 45. You leave a debt of 68. If you are manager of such a business, what will you do? Won't you sack the manager? And ask the further question. That is why yesterday, remember what I told, or was it Tatin that one sector that is really draining our country is the energy sector. In 2024, 2025, 2024, we are spending close to over 20 billion cedis in that sector alone. Look at the PwC, the PricewaterhouseCoopers report from ECG, on ECG, where there's revenue under declaration, where there's what commercial technical loss about over 30% when you listen to the version of Jinapo and all that. So that sector is draining us. How do you meet a debt of 10 billion, collect 45 billion to pay that debt, and end up with a debt of what? 68 billion? That clearly is not a mass that gels. And we must be able to fix that energy sector because it's draining. David, in fact, the sector that is plunging Ghana into a lot of issues is the energy sector. And we must look at it. If it's about privatization of the ECG, and I don't necessarily think privatization of the ECG may work exactly. Or partnership. But David, though PDS, the process was a bit fraudulent, and there's no me saying this according to the media and also the government's own report. But when PDS came on board, the revenue of ECG in those 4-6 months or so increased. So you ask yourself, what was PDS doing right when it comes to revenue collection? So is it that we can privatize some part of the collection of revenue for ECG, where the private people will come in there, or the transmission lines, because the losses as we say,
the commercial and
it's commercial and technical. Yeah. So those technical aspects, do you have private companies who can make us maybe reduce it from say 32%, so we can disaggregate it? If it's 32% for commercial and technical, what is the commercial component? What is the technical component? If it's a commercial component, we see these people, the quick loan people. What's the name? Joe, the people who come to your homes and take your soup for not paying the quick credit. Can you develop those strategies for people to collect the money for us? The illegal connection, are there private people who have maybe superior technology ECD do not have to track where the power is going and recoup it? Also about their own bank account. At a point, Dubik even said he himself doesn't know the total number of bank accounts ECG has. We know Ghana has the consolidated fund. Every money goes in there. So can we harmonize the ECG's account and know really what goes in there? Then David, we did the cash waterfall mechanism. That big English, what that means is that ECG has been given a target by PRC. The last time I checked with ASEP, the target is about 2 billion cedis every month. Now, when ECG collect that money, in Ghana's energy sector, there are 3 stages. They are the IPPs, they are the VRA, they are the generators. So they are what they call, forgive me the name, the generators. Yes, let me look that. Then there's what we call the transmitters, which is the gridco. Then the ECG is the distributors, and there are other stakeholders in there that must be paid. So when ECG collect that 2 billion, there's a certain formula that determines how much each of these stakeholders are paid. ECG has not been honoring those commitments. That is why in the last, if you remember, 2023, 2024, there was a lot of back and forth between ECG and the PURC. We need to also make sure ECG honors that, because David, now the IPPs are hold how much? Give me the figure again.
68 billion.
No, that's the debt. But I'm talking about that's the energy sector debt.
The last time we checked, I think it was four in dollars, it was close to 4 million.
No, it's more than 4 million, because Sonia Sogli alone was owned $320 million. If you remember, when they shut down.
Let me go to my data again and check it. Yeah.
So if the cash waterfall mechanism is properly followed, no, it's been rolled out, so followed, we will not have those debts. So ECG must be checked. Who must ensure ECG's accounts are harmonized? They know if it's CBG, if it's SG Bank, they know that ECG has 3 accounts. This is what is accumulated. And David, interesting, that was why they brought in Haptel, right? Because Haptel to collect the digital revenue.
1.2 billion.
Yes, 1.2 billion. And 1.2 billion, even if you do the exchange rate at, let's say 14, right? What that's about 100 and what?
This money is 16 actually. So
okay, so 16. So 1.2 times 16. So one is what, 160. So the point. So that's roughly about 170 billion. See this? Where are we getting the money from? Well, so we need to do that. Then we also need to, David, make sure there's efficiency. We need to get efficiency. And also the Haptel contract. Bahama must go into it, because Haptel was supposed to collect some revenue for ECG, take their service charge and offload the money to ECG.
But are they giving it to ECG?
Oh, but they cannot keep it.
What happened to that of the one we're talking about? I mean, the PDS one.
Oh, the PDS, Mama says he will investigate the matter.
But so they collected it on behalf of the nation. How come it didn't get to the coffers?
He will investigate the matter.
Let's move on and talk about the one that hurts me the most.